Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to AFTERBUZZ TV for the after show for The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 13, Bury Me Here. This episode was awesome. This was one of the best episodes of the entire season, one of the best episodes we've had in a long, long time. People went crazy. Deaths were had. We're going to break the whole thing down for you guys. Hang with us. We'll see you in 1 second.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AFTERBUZZ TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
They've outdone themselves, guys. It was a good episode.
We're not in sync with our clap,
We were trying to slow clap like it's good, but it kind of seemed like we were slow clap like it was bad. Like,
Right, yeah, and it was all out of sync.
Yeah, it was out of
We
sync.
should have been like,
There you go.
Come on.
Get a little bit more hype energy with that one.
it was so good.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome to the AFTERBUZZ TV After Show for The Walking Dead. Man, we have had some up and down opinions this season, and it was nice to have an episode this week that was just through and through good. Just actually all the things I like about Walking Dead, all the things that we've loved over the years, we got tonight.
We did.
Agreed.
This was very, very exciting. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. We've got you in the chat here.
Yes.
I've got my awesome panel here. We've got Susannah Kim manning the chat. She's our social media correspondent tonight.
For tonight, yeah.
I
So
love when you do it.
You're going to have to help me a little bit, yeah.
We'll help each other.
You guys can find me at Susannah_Kim, SUSANNAH_KIM, and like you said, I'm here in the chat.
And Mr. Derrial Christon.
What's up, everybody? You can find me at Derrial Christon, DERRIAL, and last name is CHRISTON, and on Black Hollywood Live as well, our sister company.
Yeah, you guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media. My name is Ben Bateman. I do media.
Good, very good.
And
Nice tie in there.
Yeah, totally. Here we are to talk about The Walking Dead. So let's just jump straight into it, guys. So first and foremost, the very first thing I want to say is, so I have a television crush on Melissa McBride. Straight up, through and through.
Me as well. Yes.
No question.
Yes.
She's she might be my favorite character on all of TV.
Ooh.
And she didn't even really do anything action-y tonight. She killed some walkers. That was the extent of it. She just dispatched them quickly.
Right.
But I was watching and I was thinking to myself, I'm not going to watch the Taken TV show. And I didn't watch Lethal Weapon. And I don't really have much interest in watching a lot of TV that's action-based.
Sure.
Especially these shows like that are supposed to have these really cool lead characters. And I was thinking to myself, if Melissa McBride had been cast as the lead in Taken, I would have watched the show. I would have watched the show if it was Melissa McBride going all over the world, taking down terror and having this unique set of skills, right?
I feel that,
I feel
that, yeah.
She is a unique character in the sense that she really has built up this just awesome, badass, but emotional, but deep, but does what she needs to do. I would watch her as an action hero on television.
Absolutely.
I mean, every time I see her, honestly, and I see that she's in the storyline, I do get a little bit excited because I know that I'm going to get something good from her, you know, and she delivers every time. I mean, even the fact that, yes, she did not, it wasn't overly gruesome with her killing today, but she had the one-way signs in her hand, taking people out from trees. I mean, if that's as badass as you can get, you know what I mean? So
I don't ever walk around and see a stop sign and be you know what, if I uprooted that, I could probably wreak some havoc.
Take someone out.
Exactly.
That's not really
And I was what does this mean? This means this one-way message is going to mean something at the end of the show. I was I'm calling this right now.
And she's walking up to the gate, and they open the gate. She doesn't even say hello. She
just walks in. Blood kind of splattered on her face.
Yeah, right?
Love it.
I don't need to ask for permission, right?
She's also I don't know you people. You're not my friends. I'm looking for Morgan. I know Morgan. I want to talk to Morgan. What's going on?
Yeah.
So she was just, the episode starts off with her, and she's just great. I don't know. She really, in my opinion, has really become the best part of this show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So she makes her way back into the kingdom, and she finds Morgan, and, they've been really teasing for a long time that there is this dichotomy between Morgan and Carol. It's something they come back to a lot. And they were really at odds for a while. The way they put a bow on their relationship at the end of this episode, really felt cathartic for me.
I loved it.
Yeah.
In a way that Morgan pissed people off for so long. Just he was the worst for a while, in a lot of ways it was just God, Morgan, shut up with your staff. People are dying. It's your fault. You need to stop people. And he just hung on to it for so long. And Carol was one of those people that was it's your fault. But I felt like she learned something from Morgan. She really did. And that's part of the reason she went away. She was there is some humanity, and that guy's showing it to me. So what she says to him at the end of the episode, you can leave, but you don't have to go, right? That's what she said.
Yep.
Go and not go.
Go and not go. Yeah.
Loved it.
That was so good. I mean,
Yeah.
share, guys. Come on, let's have a love fest.
Yeah, I love
No, I mean, here's the thing. You know, with her, obviously, I've always felt that they kind of have a similarity with their characters. They both lost their children, and there is a passion that they both have for the people that are around them. You know, and yes, there's a little bit difference in obviously in their characters, but in the same sense, they always that innate passion that they have to just protect everyone that's close to them is very similar. And you know, you saw it even more today of just how similar they really are, I feel like. And you know, and it was nice to see Morgan kind of go back to what the old school Morgan was, you know, without losing his shit too much, you know.
Yeah,
but
right.
I mean, he lost it a little bit with reason, a little breakdown, but that's also, we needed that fire to get Morgan back to where he is, you know. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with Carol, and that's what we've been waiting to see, because we've been like, okay, Derrial didn't really tell her the truth.
Yeah.
Morgan told her today. How is she gonna react, you know? And she actually handled it like a pro, you know. So
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And like you said, they are very similar. What I like is that, like Carol, Morgan as well, they have that calm wisdom sort of thing. Like you don't know exactly what's going on in their head because they're quiet a lot of the time, but there's something so deep going on there. And with Morgan, I feel like that's been like that since the beginning, from the pilot. We saw that. And with Carol, it's just been such like a roller coaster, such a development with her. It just means that much more, you know, to have her be at this point now compared to where she was when we first met her.
Yeah.
Like, that is such an insane arc to see. And then also to have her in this episode have that connection with Ben a little bit before we lost Ben, to have her, I love that they had that little interaction. Someone in the chat just said, had Ben just spent, or what is it, Rosewood Apocalypse, thanks for joining us, if Carol let Ben hang out with her for just a hot second, he wouldn't have died. Another kid bites the dust. But, I mean, that's interesting to think, had she done anything right at that moment. I wonder if she feels any sort of guilt with Ben, or, for turning him away.
No, I don't think she's she doesn't strike me as one of the characters that would feel that sort of misplaced guilt. Like, had I done something differently that I had no idea would have resulted differently.
Right.
She doesn't, I don't think she dwells on that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but it's interesting that they had that connection right before he
for
was
just a
taken
minute.
away.
Yeah, definitely. I just thought in both cases, like, I thought the arc that they're showing us with Morgan in this episode and where Carol's going, it's very satisfying, and I think they're developing a lot for us to experience payoff later in the season. The last few episodes should be like really, really amazing, I think.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, they're definitely building up for some cool stuff. It's kind of funny too if you think about last season. So much of last season was careening towards Negan that we kind of just knew the whole season. Yeah. So there was a real sense, episode to episode, of like, we just, I think, felt a sense of unrest a little bit. Like, get to the point, and it was building, and it was building. A lot of this season has sort of felt the same way, because it's like, now we're building towards the war.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I wonder if I don't feel like most TV shows have that kind of feeling where you sort of know, in theory, what the last episode or two is going to look like, and the whole season you're just waiting for it. Yeah. Maybe it's the source material, maybe not. True. I'm not sure, but it is interesting. This episode, though, felt like we're really starting to get the gears turning. Yeah.
I mean, it was saying 3 episodes left. I feel like the next 3 episodes are going to be even more fire the rest of the time.
I can't believe there's only 3 left. I feel like there's still so much to happen. I'm worried,
Yeah, definitely. So you mentioned what happened to Benjamin, so let's get into that a little bit. We have a basic, normal offering run where they're going to go meet up with Gavin, and they're going to have to give some things over. And the very first thing we see when this group leaves is there's all of these shopping carts blocking the road. And I think all of us know, to some degree, that's probably something to do with Richard, but maybe not. We don't know if he's decided to go forward with his plan. And Richard has that moment, get your gun up. The editing in this episode was really, really nice. I really liked the way they did it. And I didn't even though I felt like there was a lot of, like, those moments in movies where it's like, forget about it, kid, they are ghosts. And then it like cuts to the other line, it's like, they're ghosts. And you're like, oh yeah, right, because there's that other scene. I'm supposed to remember that. Movies do that sometimes. I didn't think it was overdone this time. I thought it was actually correct. Like when they go to that shot and he remembers him, get your gun up, right? So I thought that stuff was all great. But anyway, they see all the shopping carts. They go to the offering, and the second you see this dickhead playing with the stick, you know something bad's gonna happen. From the minute you see it, you're like, oh man, someone's gonna die. It's probably Benjamin. Maybe it's Richard. But honestly, if Richard had died there, I don't think it would have had the same impact.
I don't think it would have either.
Not for Ezekiel and not for the audience.
Yeah, not for war, you know?
Yeah, and we saw the setup. I mean, obviously we saw, you know, Benjamin training with Morgan earlier. We saw him, as we mentioned, the interaction with him and Carol. We see him with his little brother. We see his little brother looking up to him. And Morgan even saying to the little brother when he was training him something like, you wanted to take hit your brother's head or take your brother's head. Knock his head down. And you know, just that interjection of like how Benjamin's character was developing, so we were starting to like him. As soon as I saw that, I was like, oh man, this could be bad for Benjamin. But then my thing is, do you think that he had enough training to start to go out with them enough, you know, at that stage, you know?
I don't think having any more training in that moment would have saved him. He just got sucker shot.
Yeah, he got sucker shot.
You know,
right. So
there wasn't really much he could do.
Yeah.
I think he was doing okay. I think compared to most people that are out there in the wild who have like no training,
right?
His
That's
body
true.
armor, you know, he's got a gun. It's better than a lot of people.
I don't know that he would be equipped for like a run.
A run,
like, but for a drop, totally.
Yeah, and then we saw the relationship of Morgan looking at him. He felt like he was looking at him like his son. You know, even before we saw kind of the end of the episode where it was more revealed, but you know, he definitely looked at him like his son.
Mm-hmm. That little training session with the two of them, where
and the painting, and the moment he kept asking like, "Who's the girl who gave you the painting?" You know, so.
I know TV can be so obvious, but also so heartbreaking in that way. You see it coming, but it's like it's slow motion. You can't stop.
Right.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah. So they get to this meetup, and you know it's awkward, and the whole thing is tense, and you know Gavin's saying all this stuff, and they say that the offering is short. Now, it was clear to me that something funny had happened, like that they had come, in fact, with the whole amount, and that they weren't just mistaken. But I still wasn't 100% sure if it was Richard who had done it. Like I wasn't
convinced at that point.
I was thinking like, I don't know, one could have fallen out or something. But as soon as Jared.
Yeah.
Wait, no, not Jared.
You're talking about Jared from
Jerry?
No, Jerry. Sorry, Jared. As soon as Jerry got whacked in the head, you were like, oh man, something really bad is gonna happen. I thought maybe that it was him that got shot, actually. You know, like just in the second when he doesn't shoot Richard and he goes over.
Right.
I was like, I think it's probably Benjamin, but maybe it's Jerry. Like it would still be fairly effective for us as an audience.
Yeah.
Jerry's kind of like the fan favorite.
Like
Yeah. But he's also just such a helpless character to whack in the head like that.
True.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's
makes you really feel for him.
Yeah.
For me, I actually noticed the shopping carts when they originally had, because I told you
did.
like when we were watching, I was like, I knew it.
Yep.
I knew it, because I don't know why, but when Richard originally went around the corner and saw Katie's backpack and all those shopping carts were there, for some reason my eyes went straight to the whole stack of. I was like, why are there so many shopping carts?
Yeah.
And then when they hit it on the road, I just already knew that there was some sort of connection there. I wasn't sure that Richard was doing it like maliciously exactly, but I just knew that he was involved or there's something going on. Because why would they show us that shot of him, you know, burying, or what is it, digging up the grave?
And then and then the bury me
waiting.
next to this sign or whatever it was.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bury me here.
Or bury me here. Yeah.
Which I guess is cryptic enough. It's like cryptic enough that they wouldn't be like, well, who did that and where did this come from? Because this is on our route that we normally take to go to this meeting, so it wasn't here before.
Right, and it was such an obvious like arrow with the shopping carts. You know, the shopping carts were placed in an arrow.
Strategic,
yeah. So I was like, it's so obvious.
The one
How
way,
could you guys,
and they were all placed one way.
But I guess you do go out in the world, and you know, you go out in the world and you see enough horror in this environment that like I guess it's not that surprising.
Well, I didn't want it to think that it was just that obvious, because in my mind I was thinking like you know they're gonna probably give us something else. You know?
Right.
And you know they gave it to us, but in a different way.
And I like the conversation they had surrounding that too, because they were talking about like, oh, when they're analyzing the grave, they're like, oh yeah, you know, people can go crazy, and talking about that break that sort of happens.
Right.
And we see that with Richard a little bit, and also with Morgan at the end. So it's nice that they brought that up.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So yeah, the meetup starts. They're short a melon, and it's very tense. And he says, "Okay, so I'm going to take your guns too." And now this interaction for me was interesting, because I was like, all right, so what happens if one of our people shoots? Because I did for a second think it was going to be one of our people, that it was actually going to be Morgan.
It was tense.
That Morgan was going to pop off a shot, and it was going to be like a bloodbath. And maybe somehow they would get away with it, and they would kill most of Gavin's group. Like maybe they'd lose one person, somebody would get shot, but they'd be able to kill most of them or something like that.
And that starts the war.
Yeah, that was one part. Another part of me thought that maybe Carol was going to come out of the bushes with like an assault rifle and just mow down the saviors there.
Wow, that's optimistic right there. That is her style. I didn't see that one come yet, but I feel that.
How sweet would that have been? That would have been so sweet. Just brutality. Just Carol, but she would have had to have found out already, and she doesn't find out what happens till later.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I was really curious about that. I kept thinking to myself, all right, so what happens if a shot gets popped off here? Like, how does this end? And
where does it go from there?
Could have gone that way because Benjamin could have died in that.
He could have. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I thought Ezekiel at that point was going to be, for some reason, I thought that somehow he was going to be the person who kind of starts that part, because I felt like, because he was, when Rick had spoken to him before, he was so adamant about, let's not really join forces quite yet. I felt like this time he might see something different and go all balls in with it.
That's what I was thinking, right?
Like it would trigger something with him where we would see a different side of his character today.
That was his moment. I mean, they gave us a lot of little seeds pointing us in that direction, because there is the moment earlier in the episode where the person from the kingdom goes to see Ezekiel, and she's like, well, we're going to have to dig stuff up and it's going to take time. We're going to lose some crops. I'm sorry you're going to lose the garden. And you're sort of like, oh, okay, so they're going to have even less here. Yeah. And they're going to have even less. They're going to have to give more and still have less. So you're like, all right, they're running out of resources. This arrangement can't go on that long.
And she drops that little seed because she was like, I know you have all this stuff, but just remember, you can tear everything down and get it all back. She had that little word of wisdom for him. So I was hoping that would drop a seed in him to be like, okay, we might lose a lot in this war, but we can gain everything back,
Right.
And sorry if I missed this part, but how often are they giving supplies to the saviors?
I don't know.
That's what I want to figure out.
I'm not sure. It feels like about once a week.
Okay. If you guys know in the chat, please let us know. It seems like it's pretty often.
Yeah, it does seem like it's about once a week. I think if it was more than once a week, it would be hard to imagine with the amount. But then again, 12 melons.
I feel like it has to be more than once a week just because they only got 12. They were only asking for 12
But I feel like sometimes it's more than that.
Well, I'm sure they don't drop off melons every week.
Well, no, but I mean like this particular week, but then I feel like it should be maybe more than once a week. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's so interesting. How many communities... So we know that Negan's taking stuff from Hilltop. Yeah. We know that he's taking stuff from Alexandria. We know that he's taking stuff from the Kingdom. Oceanside, he's no longer taking anything from because they left and they're hidden now. But do we know? Is there a chance that Negan's taking anything from anywhere else? Because thinking about Eugene's situation, all the stuff that's in that cool little market with the pickles and everything like that, I'm thinking about those melons. Okay, so those end up on some table, and there's a barter system, and they're worth a point or 2 points or whatever. I wonder if there's any more communities we're missing, or if they would have shown us those if they existed.
I feel like they would have shown us at this point, but you never know.
Yeah, right. And I guess because then you also have the junkyard folk.
Yeah,
right,
you do.
Yeah, those are the two others. So anyway, the interaction starts. It's very tense. We have Jared, who's just the biggest cock. That guy
I hate him, man. I want him to go down.
And he will.
I want him to go down hard too, just a nasty death.
It's gonna be nasty.
Violent.
That actor plays that well.
Oh, he plays it good.
He does. Yeah, he's they do an interesting job of giving us a lot of Negan bullies. There's the guys that are bullies. There's the guys that feel like they're doing it because they sort of they're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
And then there's the ones who are sort of reluctant to do it.
I love that.
Well, he pisses me off because he's the shock factor dude. You know what I mean? He's the dude who's going to do some stupid crap just to try and be such a badass and prove that he's so strong and he's really not strong. He's whack.
Off.
You know what I mean? So,
I think it's Ezekiel that brutally murders that guy. I think it's
I
gotta
hope
be.
so.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It could be Morgan though.
It might even be Shiva. The tiger might eat that guy.
That would be great.
I would like that.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
But I don't know. I could see Morgan doing it too because Morgan's got a little, something.
Oh yeah. Morgan's gone crazy.
He's gone crazy.
A little bit. But I like what you were saying, how they all have different varying degrees of their loyalty, I guess. Or my favorite thing of the whole interaction was Gavin. You can obviously tell that he's a little reluctant, you were saying.
Yeah.
And just he obviously has, ethics in him and some morals. And even initially when Ben gets shot, you can see it on his face, he's uncomfortable. He tells him to give the stick when that was off the table a second ago, And I just, oh gosh, to see that empathy in his face, there's so much thought behind that.
Unfortunately, he's still going to get murdered, and it's going to be
absolutely
brutal.
Well,
but on the way out, he might help out, the other side, because he has that in him.
He does.
He's got a Jiminy Cricket in there somewhere, and he's working on it. I don't know.
It's true. I mean, he's not the one who shot him, so maybe there is some sympathy. I'm not really sure, but in any case, the interaction goes, and Richard. You think Richard's on the chopping block? He turns out not to be. It's Benjamin gets shot. Richard. The look on everyone's face. And it's that moment when everybody's just like, we gotta get him on the truck. We gotta save this kid. And Gavin's like, you're gonna listen to me while he's bleeding on the ground.
Yeah.
And you're just like, God, they're so helpless. Oh my, they can't do anything. They can't make any hard decision. They can't press any issue. Like, they have to just listen. Oh,
Yeah.
you want to lecture me while he's bleeding on the ground because you shot this kid.
Right.
You know, and I'm gonna take it.
And yeah, I was just so pissed off when he got shot, though.
No.
You know? Because obviously it was a lot of things on this episode too that they didn't directly show you things as they were happening. Like we didn't see Benjamin fully get shot. It was kind of like the side angle of it, which kept a little mystery for us. But I just did not want that kid to go down today.
No, and I actually didn't necessarily think he was going to die. I was 50,
I didn't either.
I was 50-50 on it.
I felt like they were setting us up for it. It was a shock to me when they killed him. Or when he actually, like, died. Yeah.
So they get the car to Carol's place, and they bring him inside. And this was definitely one of the moments. This was like one of those show moments where you feel a little bit of a payoff. Like, you've watched for so long, and you've seen one character. And with Morgan's character, his whole, I guess we'll call him somewhat of a pacifist. I mean, he still fights, but he doesn't kill.
Right.
And the fact that Benjamin looks at him and he says that line, to injure your opponent is to injure yourself.
Injure yourself.
Just before he dies.
It's deep. Yeah.
Just before he dies, it was like, that's gotta just ruin Morgan. I mean, that's gotta, it did. It turned him crazy. Like, hearing him say this, like, you're gonna quote my, like, Zen, basically Aikido line to me just before you die from a bullet wound that we couldn't stop. Because, and that was like, man, that's, Morgan's going off the deep end for that reason.
A little bit.
That was a good moment.
For me, a little bit, I got a little nervous when they were leaving the Saviors, and Morgan's kind of yelling out, "Let's go to Carol's. We have a bunch of supplies there and stuff." Did that make anyone else nervous? I got nervous.
When he said she has a bunch of supplies, I thought about that. I said, I don't know if this is something you should be advertising in front of the Saviors.
Exactly, because then they're going to deduce that she's obviously closer, than what the kingdom is. She's off the side. She's got supplies. She's there.
Yeah.
So that made me a little nervous. So I'm wondering if everyone else caught that.
Yeah, well, she ain't gonna be there, so it doesn't matter.
That's true.
Carol's definitely.
I wonder if that's a little setup though. Because now Morgan's there, so maybe they won't expect him or whatever.
Yeah, Carol's moving back towards Rambo. I don't think she's gonna quite be there, but she's definitely going back in that direction.
Oh yeah. She's back at the kingdom. I don't think she's going back to her little vacation home anymore.
No, she's not doing any more planting that she was doing.
No.
What was she planting? Boston picklings or something like that? Is that what it was?
Yeah, that was gonna be.
It was all about planting things this episode as well.
So they get out of there, and Benjamin dies, and the next scene is Morgan goes to confront Richard, and it made me think a little bit. Have either of you guys acted at all? Have you auditioned for parts at all?
Yeah.
So, all right, like, how like when you get the script and it's for a character that's going to be relatively major and something that's kind of bigger, like you read the sides and you're like, okay, so this is what everybody, whether it's me or like the big name actor that's going in to read for the part is. I was thinking Richard's been around long enough that I think probably this isn't the case, but I wouldn't be that surprised if his monologue about what happened with his wife and kids was in the original sides for that character. It felt to me like the kind of thing in a big character in a big show like this that you'd get two different scenes, and one of them would be that, because that's like a really big scene. That's kind of his most relevant scene I think he's probably had so far.
Yeah.
In terms of character development. Like you get background on him and you find out a bit more.
Yeah, it's a great piece.
Yeah.
And to see him vulnerable like that, we haven't really seen him like that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, because you kind of hate him. But you hear the story, and here's the thing is like 7 seasons into the show, that story is not shocking anymore because everybody has that story.
Yeah.
Everyone, but he did tell it in a way that did put you right there, and I felt for him because
I felt it.
I felt it. I mean, we got to know more, obviously, about his family and what happened to him. But here's the thing: we've been talking about this for a couple episodes about predictions on, when Richard was going to die, if he was going to die, that kind of thing. I kind of felt a little anticlimactic with his death today because, first of all, we didn't see it; it was off screen. I don't know if that was obviously a conscious choice, but I'm curious to know why they didn't show that. Because we have started to kind of, especially today's episode, get to know who Richard is a lot more.
That's true.
And because of the fact that Morgan was so pissed off and then takes him out, I'm surprised that we didn't really get to see more of that death.
I would have a couple thoughts on that. One would be, I know there was a lot of there's a big uproar about the violence in this show after the premiere.
Yeah.
So it's pretty evident that
I can accept that.
I'll give it to you.
they've dialed it back a little bit, and it seems to be pretty clear it hasn't been as violent this season as that premiere would have made us expect.
Yeah.
The other one that I was thinking was because it never cuts to him while he's getting strangled, that it is possible that something about it was inconsistent with what they wanted to shoot, and with the production schedule for the episode, they couldn't get a proper reshoot.
Okay.
I don't know that. I'm just thinking about it.
You're not giving us the exclusive right now, baby?
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
you weren't there when they shot it. No,
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it could have been the thing where if they filmed it or shot it in a way and there was some continuity error and they realized it late in the game and they had to just film it with new ADR, and that was all they had. So
yeah, I don't know. I just kind of felt. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just felt like it was a lackluster moment as far as like seeing a death. I mean, I get it doesn't have to be where it's just all blood and guts, but it just. We never really saw it.
Yeah.
So all we saw was the blood on Morgan's face afterwards.
And I think that's what it was. Probably they didn't want to take away from what was happening with Morgan.
Yeah.
I think it's more about, like, can you believe Morgan, who said he wasn't going to kill anyone, is now killing this man with his bare hands, and it was all about Morgan. So I think that's probably maybe why they didn't show. And also, like you said, it's very gruesome. So for us to see Morgan doing that to him, I don't know if maybe they were worried that would affect our feelings on Morgan, because they want us to still like him, you know? So that was my thing.
Yeah, proper strangulations are pretty gruesome on screen.
Yeah.
You have to show, like, the face gets all red and the eyes kind of pop, and if you're going to show that, it's not a zombie, it's a person.
It's a person,
So that's kind of maybe they're just trying to avoid the violence.
But I wonder if they shot it and then chose to cut it out, you know?
Exactly.
Or just to show the one angle.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Maybe
would
they
love to
shot
know.
it and it felt too violent, so they felt they had to cut away from it and just use the... Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Anyway, so that happens, and after the conversation, we find that stuff out about Richard. They go back, and Richard, starts to say, I just want you to know we get it, and it's like, Morgan's just not going to have it. First, he goes out the stick, and you're thinking, is Morgan just going to commit suicide right now? Is he going to just whack some, like... Oh, and we didn't even talk about the Morgan going crazy scene.
Yeah.
He almost kills himself.
We had a couple people in here saying, did anyone hear crazy whispers happening while Morgan was having his breakdown?
Yes. Definitely.
How to get H. Did anyone hear whispers? So do we think like the whispers are coming back?
The voices, I felt like the voices come back. It's almost like it triggered this death of Benjamin triggered he suppressed it. I felt like he's been suppressing all these emotions, and they all are coming back out. All those demons are coming back and haunting him again.
Well, yeah, because Morgan's really been pretty stable ever since meeting Eastman, and he hasn't broken, and he's had like his sort of meditation, and that's like what's gotten him through. Yeah. But this definitely did feel like the inciting incident to let the wild men out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because Morgan has a lot of crazy in him. The events of the world affected Morgan in a pretty crazy way.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of remarkable he stuck around since the premiere.
Yeah.
That's a wild character to be around 7 seasons.
When he came back, it was everything to me.
Yeah.
Because I was, from the beginning when he went away, I was like, he has to come back. So I was just waiting season by season for him to come back.
So after they go out there, we get the Morgan kind of going crazy scene. He does appear to almost kill himself, but avoids the issue. He kills Richard, and then he's like, I'm not going to go back with you guys.
Right.
Just lay off it. And he's explaining to Ezekiel. I was a little surprised. So Ezekiel says, did you, Dwayne? And he says, Benjamin. I meant Benjamin. I was wondering why Dwayne was my son. That was the line I was expecting to come out next.
Yeah.
Right? That didn't surprise you guys?
I mean, I just felt like he was battling so much internally, so that didn't necessarily come to mind firsthand when he said it.
I don't know if he even knew that he said Dwayne, but it's kind of like, what? And then he, whatever.
Well, he realized because he corrected himself.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the thing. I just was thinking, like, if in that situation, even just for a minute, my son's name was Dwayne or something. But yeah, maybe it's just not even going to go there.
Yeah, I was telling Susannah that I was more surprised the fact that Ezekiel just accepted what Morgan said about why he killed Richard. It was no debate about it. It was just like, this is what Richard did, and this is why I killed him. And to me, Richard's been around such a long time with Ezekiel, way before Morgan was there. And I know he loves Morgan and respects what he's saying, but he just quickly it was no debate at all,
I think it was because when he said it, he said he sabotaged, they took the melon out, he set the trap, and I think he didn't even mention the grave, but I think it was kind of all the things adding up in Ezekiel's head a little bit that I think he was like, okay, that's actually very logical. Morgan's never steered me wrong. He's never started a conflict.
Yeah, I mean, and luckily they had that quick little interaction where he's like, "Oh, we'll tell him later," you know.
Yeah, we'll tell him later. He did say
He was
that.
hiding something.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
now.
we'll talk about it later
Right.
than now. Yep, that's true.
So all right. So we get back to the kingdom, and it's very sad, and it's falling apart, and we don't know exactly what the next move is going to be for Ezekiel, but Morgan does go to see Carol first, and this is an important scene because
Yeah, it is.
Loved it.
the two of them together. I mean, they're such good actors.
Yeah, they are.
It's so good,
So
and
good.
yeah, and I like Morgan as a character in the show so much more now than I used to.
Same here. He's growing on me a lot.
Yeah, definitely. It's not as much as I like Father Gabriel, but just kidding. No, but they have a great interaction, and Morgan's just very matter of factly. Do you want to know what happened or not?
Yeah.
And he's like, it was Negan beat them to death in front of us, you know, with a baseball bat. It was
great.
Abraham and Glenn, and more than that, people are dead, and that scene as he's walking away, the line she has, I said it once on the episode already, but you know, you can go, but you don't have to go, was just like that. It was just the synergy of their two journeys and just the alignment, and like, oh God, that was just such a wonderful moment because she's basically saying to him, you know, it's like, I bought in, Morgan. I bought into your philosophy. I've been living out here by myself. I don't want to kill anymore. I don't want to be that person. You know, you taught me something. Don't let that go. If you let that go, what am I supposed to do, kind of a thing, you know? Yeah, it was just great.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing: is now once again we got the fire back with Carol. I actually still even thought, even when Morgan told her what happened as far as with Glenn and everyone else there, that she was gonna have more of an emotional breakdown, but it was so internalized. But that shows how great whatever the choice she used for that particular, you know, scene. It just showed, you know, she didn't even like go crazy. She just like internalized it. It was like the badass came out, and bam, I'm gonna go handle business. You know, and that was a good scene. That was an intense scene.
Yeah, for sure.
But real quick to recall in the very beginning, I loved the get-go when Morgan's like, because she asks Morgan what happened, because she tells him that Derrial sort of told her what happened, but she's not sure. She wants to know exactly what happened. And when Morgan straight up tells her, he's like, no, I kept your story about you, you know? I was like, you're right.
Yeah,
that is so
they
true.
did.
And I love that Morgan always sticks to his ethics, and that was such a great point for me.
Loyalty.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of loyalty between those two. They're part of like, it's funny, like it makes you feel like the Alexandrians and their way of life and their group. It's like the old guard. They're all like wise and respectful of one another.
That's true.
You know, it's like this old group or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. So after that interaction, she's like, "What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "I'm gonna go kill them. I'm gonna go find them one by one and kill them." And you're just like, what is Morgan gonna go do? Where it's like, what's the next move for that dude? Is he just about to be out there, clear, here is not here, living in the wild? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that. I don't know. I feel that there's going to be some still taming with him in the group. I don't feel like he's going to go rogue on us again. I somehow feel like he's going to still channel that energy, that aggressive energy, but use it with the group still.
Yeah.
And we've seen him go off on his own. You know, I don't think we want to see him go off on his own again. I want them to fight as a group.
Yeah,
You know, and that's the only way they can take this team down.
It'll converge. It'll eventually all get together. So basically after that scene, you know, Carol finds out, she packs a bag, she heads back to Kingdom, and I like that she walks in and she says, "We have to fight.
We have to fight. We have to get ready to fight." Yeah.
You know, we will, but not today.
Yeah.
And I was just like, yeah, all right. Like you have built something. You've built some serenity in this place, and it is worth something, and it's worth taking a moment to grieve about this kid that you loved very much. And but it's good that Ezekiel. Also, do you feel a little bit like the sort of so I'll talk about this a little bit after in the comic book spoilers, which we saved for the very, very end, but that the relationship between Carol and Ezekiel, they've been teasing for a little while now, they haven't quite gone down the road. They've almost, but they haven't taken the turn.
Right.
I felt like when she walked back in and they had that moment, there's some amount of her that's come back to like, all right, I'm willing to be part of society, and some part of him that's like, okay, I'm ready to stop living my fairy tale and do what has to be done.
Yeah.
That feels like now they can actually be together.
There's a happy median in between. You
Yeah.
know, they're both not their two extreme characters of what they used to be. It's kind of like they're kind of meeting in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. And it feels now like if they go down that road, it would work. Story-wise, it would work. Right at the beginning, it was kind of like this is the Odd Couple a little bit. They didn't feel like they didn't really feel like they got each other.
Well, you just could tell that she just thought he was full of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
He had a crush on her, but she wasn't really into him.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the only one that knows who he really is, like his real language.
Yeah, because he dropped the
like,
line. Yeah, exactly. So now I thought that moment with the two of them, I was like, all right, now we're gonna go down this road, and I think this works now.
Yeah.
And I love the scene at the end where where she comes back and talks to him, and everything in the garden's been burnt out, and they're restarting. They're like planting that new. So it's such symbolism there, you know.
Once
she's
again,
like, this
the
is what
planting.
we need to be doing. We gotta clear out, you know, and we're gonna start over.
Yeah, and it's that whole idea of like, even though we're gonna go to war, we're gonna fight, we're gonna try to save, but it's like we have to fight, we have to save the thing we're saving. You know, it's like we're fighting for something. So let's focus on that too. So.
And was today the first day I've actually seen Ezekiel with a handgun, like really pointing to, you know, like in a.
Maybe. Did you notice how much his hand was shaking?
It was shaking a lot. I put that in my notes. I was when he was pointing the gun, he looked very nervous. You know, he was not comfortable with doing it. That's for sure.
He's not comfortable shooting anybody. So. Yeah, but he's gonna have to get comfortable with what's going
especially
on.
now.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps up everything. The last thing is the episode ends with a shot of Morgan sitting on a doorstep somewhere. Is that? Do we know where he was? Where he was sitting?
I think he was at Carol's, right?
It looked like it was at Carol's.
It was at Carol's house.
So that's what I was thinking. Like, he's obviously not going rogue again. He's deciding to stay at Carol's place, and he's deciding to go through with his sort of new outlook, because like the staff is now turning into some sort of weapon. It seems like he was whittling his staff.
Yeah, I wonder
now
if
it's
like
not a walking stick anymore. You know.
Wonder if Morgan will be. Well, we can say that for predictions. But the one thing I do wonder is he's in the house. And there's a moment where he stops and he looks back because it looks like he hears something, but then he turns forward and the episode ends.
And it ends, yeah.
So is somebody in there? Was it maybe? Let's get into predictions.
Okay.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, so a couple things we're gonna do here. We're each gonna shout out our predictions, give our sign off, and then we're gonna do a little quick, like 1.5 minute discussion about the comic book stuff.
Okay.
But the question I had was, is it possible that he walked off, went and did his thing, the Saviors heard there are supplies at Carol's place, they sent people back there.
That would be crazy.
Morgan's sitting there with a knife, skinning an apple or whatever he was holding in his hand there, and that there's like a couple guys behind him, and Morgan's gonna get up and just murder everyone.
That could make sense.
That would be insane. If it is, that has to be the intro to the next episode.
Absolutely.
You know, like I need to know.
Because there was clearly a reason they did that. The shot from behind him, right? That's not just a throwaway shot.
Right. So that's a good prediction.
Interesting, yeah.
I like that.
I wonder if anyone else noticed that.
But yeah, anybody in the
if they
chat?
think of anything of it, yeah.
What about you guys?
Interesting.
Well, from the preview that we saw, we obviously see Rosita and Sasha together. I still say, from my prediction a couple weeks ago, that Rosita's going to go down. I feel like it's just they're setting it up.
Yeah.
Because she is one who's going rogue, and I mean, it's very interesting to see the characters here between Morgan and Carol, and even Rosita and even Sasha, who've gone rogue at different places and points during the show. But I feel like now, especially with 3 episodes in, the arc of where we're seeing with Rosita, it's definitely developing to where we're going to see her leave the show.
Okay.
And I think that with Sasha, I think we're ready for Sasha to leave the show at Rosita's hand. Like, I think it'll be Rosita's fault. She'll feel so guilty about it and all that stuff. Back to, like, what happened with this episode, I would love to see, again, because I love Gavin, that actor.
Yeah.
I love him. But I would love to see him, like, dig a little deeper into it, because clearly those emotions are there. That reluctance that we saw today, I want to see him dig deeper into that. Maybe, you know, talk to Dwight a little bit, you know? I don't know.
Because he has that moment where he sends Jared away, where he says, "The kid's dead. Get out, get out of here before I kill you," kind of thing.
Yeah, walk home. Yeah.
And it's like, it's not like it's weird because he doesn't have to do that, but it also doesn't bring the kid back. I guess maybe it makes them feel a little better, like he cares or something. But it's definitely just a kind of a moment for show, even if it came from a real place.
Yeah.
But it's trying to make a statement.
Like, I don't want to look at your face, you know, that you would make that sort of decision. I love that.
Yeah. Self-preservation too, though, because I think he realizes. I think anybody in that position realizes that, like, let's say you're the group of bullies and you're bullying multiple communities and you have all the resources. It's like when you trigger those hard emotions for people, you kill the kid. It's like, you know that there's a lot of hate in these people's eyes, and they're gonna tear you limb from limb given the chance.
Absolutely.
They're going to murder you, and they're not going to be merciful. Even if you think you're a nice guy, even if you think that you're doing this because you have to, you're gonna get killed. And these are the people that are going to do it. And so that's him, I think, just trying to show, like, I'm not the bad guy here. I'm just doing my job, but still going to die.
Really?
Yeah. And I think Morgan's going to take out Jared, because he's not going to let it go with what happened to Benjamin. I was going back and forth. Is it going to be even Ezekiel, because the way that they showed Ezekiel with his little brother?
Maybe it's a little brother. Or wait, is it his little brother? Is it his son or his little brother?
His little brother,
Okay.
yeah. But he's too young to.
No.
to
Because
be
they had
doing
that
it.
conversation when Richard was like so young to have a kid or something. He was
Well,
Well,
it's
I
'cause
think
he's
he's just
taking
saying because
care
he's
of him.
taking care of the
Yes,
kid.
yes.
Yeah.
Because remember, there's
Yeah.
the line when they're training and he says, you didn't want to beat him up, you wanted to be like your brother, right?
Exactly.
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
He
Okay.
says that. Yeah.
And my other prediction is that they are going to take us down the Ezekiel and Carol road. That's going to happen. I think we need one more really meaningful episode for the two of them to like. I think it's like maybe the moment when she's talking to Ezekiel and he's mourning over the loss of Benjamin or something. There'll be some moment that we have that will start to move us in that direction.
I want her to call him out in front of everyone, so everyone knows who he really is, and so he's not putting up this facade anymore.
Something like
I want
that.
her to get that out of him.
But
So-
one really quick question before
Yeah.
we move to the comic book. Do you think that Morgan will ever find, if he goes super rogue again, as we're predicting and seeing from this episode, will he ever find that peace again? Will he ever come back to, can he come back to the old Morgan and tranquility and that after going crazy?
I don't
Or
think
not
he'll
crazy,
ever get
but-
back to the kind that you mentioned tranquility. I don't think he'll ever get back to like that sort of pacifist mentality that he's had for a while, because I think that was too far in the one extreme. But I think the sort of in between almost phase that he's in now,
Yeah.
he'll probably learn to harness that a little more, and I think he'll be willing to exert violence in the scenes that he needs to. But I think we'll be a little more that's what I think, and maybe
Yeah.
he's not able to. But that's what
Yeah.
I think he'll
It kind
end
of
up.
ties in with Tasha. Tosh said Ben's, because they're talking about the sticks, and now he
Yeah.
has those two sticks. She's saying Ben's will still be the peaceful staff, but his will be turned into the weapon. Because they're
Yeah.
all saying that he was definitely whittling his staff at the end of the episode to turn it into
That's
some
what it
sort
was.
of,
It was
like,
it was the staff. Okay,
weapon,
not
yeah.
a piece of fruit. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, so guys, you can find me at Ben Bateman Media if you want to follow along. I'm on Twitter and Instagram. Folks, where they can find you.
You can find me at Susannah_Kim, SUSANNAH_KIM.
You can find me at Derrial Christon, DERRIALCHRSTON, on all social media platforms, and also on our sister network, Black Hollywood Live.
And if you guys want to know about some comic book spoilers,
I like how you did that. Know about? You got into that, Ben.
I'm just gonna talk for like a minute and a half just right now, so it's a big spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear them, just get out of here. Turn the show off. Turn it off on your phone, your iPad, your iPod app, your iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Stop talking. And I just want to talk for a second here. Can we get the spoiler alert? The brr, brr.
Very good.
There we go.
Spoiler
You did
alert!
it yourself. We didn't watch the
Spoiler
actual
alert.
sound. Come on.
Spoiler alert!
So
Spoiler alert!
I've made mention before that Michonne and Morgan Michonne and Ezekiel end up together in the show. That's a thing. That's like an important detail. And actually, way down the line, like way further down the line, Ezekiel dies in a plot. But like this is a whole different story that I don't really think we're gonna go anywhere near.
Okay.
It would be way down the line, like
Okay.
probably years in the show. But Carol is playing the role basically of Michonne in the situation. And it takes a while in the comic for Michonne and Ezekiel to kind of have the relationship start. It's definitely like a slow process, and Michonne has to finally be like, all right, you know what, like you're not as silly as I think. And there's some part, but also Michonne in the comic has a much more like clingy kind of vibe than the show. She latches onto multiple men throughout the comic book, and then they'll die or she'll leave them, and it just keeps happening. And she's lonely, and she uses it in this story in the comic book. She uses it as like a coping mechanism. She's like not really connecting. She like needs to have a companion essentially. So Carol's not the same way at all. That's a very different character, which is the part of me that wonders if they're going to go down that road with Ezekiel. But I just get the feeling with the way it's setting up, I think they want that to happen.
Yeah.
And I think that given one more scene, I think it's possible that it could.
I hope they drag it on a little bit longer, because you're saying, Michonne, that I hope they do drag it out, because I want to get that feeling, like I said, I was kind of missing with Rick and Michonne. I want to, like, cheer for them, be like, oh, like, get together already,
Yeah.
I want it to be, like, this tension and this, romance that I'm, like, wanting,
Yeah, definitely. So
I hope
that's
they do
pretty
drag
much
it out.
that's pretty much what I had to say.
Interesting.
That's about it. It's a different path. That's the only thing. Some of the paths from the comic you can draw very directly and it's easy, but others it's like, because it's new characters, and we say this all the time, but the two characters that don't really exist the way they exist are Daryl and Carol. So
Carol, yeah.
any of the storylines that involve those two, you kind of have to jump the leapfrog plot points a little bit, because you can't just character shift and expect it to be exactly the same.
True.
Right, totally.
So yeah, we'll see what happens. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching and listening. Hopefully we didn't just ruin anything crazy for you, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Bye, guys.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
From executive producers Maria Menounos.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.